said, in addition to everything that she's going through now, she's got to worry about the child acting out, because it's frustrating and it could be embarrassing. So yes, I have gone back to those moments where it brings me back in time. And like I said, I was fortunate enough. They were just well behaved. So
Let's talk about the real casualty, if we could. And again, being a social worker, I'm sure you can understand this. That's why I just love the fact that you wrote this book. 22 million kids or more in this country currently, 2020, being raised without a dad. How important do you feel it is? Is there a difference in the outcome of a person, say at the age of 18? Do you think it's different for people that have had two parents as opposed to those who have had one? Or does it depend on the way the single parent did things?
I think it's a double part combination. I think it's important to have two parent household raise their kids, but with that being said, it's raising them. It's not saying, okay, you're physically there, but you're not emotionally there. So that's important versus having a, let's say single mom or single dad where, he or she is doing everything, but they are not only physically there, but emotionally there. So that's the key in all of this, Loren. It's not the fact that you don't have to have a double parent household. It's about just ensuring that you give the children the time that they deserve and need. Because
Right.
right there, it's being involved, it's being nosy, it's knowing what the child is doing practically all the time.
So how do you feel about co-parenting? Parents that don't live under the same roof but are sharing the responsibilities.
I give props to those parents who are able to do that. I was not fortunate in that department, so I give props to the parents who do co-parent. But I just want to mention something, and it's not discounting a father's role in the situation. But remember, children are 9 months in their mother's womb, and that connection starts with the female. It starts with the mother. So
Yeah.
a mother's role is so vital. Not to discount again a father's role, but it's and you can attest to this, having been in different homes,
Yeah. 22 of them.
20
Yeah.
different mothers. If you could change something about that, I'm sure it would probably be to have been raised by your mother, correct? Having
Yeah.
that relationship that was so important as a child. So two parent household, yes, definitely important. Presence is the key. Dedication to your children is the vital key point in all of this. And mothers are definitely important. And think about your friends and family and those relationships that they either have with their mother or they don't.
Right.
So
I don't know where exactly it was, but I remember somewhere in the book, because I read it over the weekend, somewhere near the beginning, you say something about about raising two males.
Two males.
And excuse me, yeah. And so let's talk about that for a second, if we could. Do you feel this is a two-part question. Do you feel that it's easier to raise a male over a female? And that's part one. It's part two is how do you feel? Some people think that, oh, a boy needs his dad, a boy needs a male influence, and that sort of thing. Do you feel, as a single mom, having been a single mom, were you able to play the role of the father too?
Yes. So the first part of the question, I mean, that he wasn't around. I don't know how to say it other than you just had to do what you had to do. Raising a boy versus raising a girl, is there a difference? I'm not so sure. I think yes, and maybe this is a biased opinion, but I think boys, they're more headstrong and they need more direction and guidance than females. And females, for the most part, I believe are the stronger genes.
Oh, do you now?
Males. I believe that we are. So
Okay.
that I do find that boys are the ones that are harder to raise but need more direction.
Okay.
I have to say too that if I had had a daughter, I probably would have been tougher on her than what I was with my boys, because we're strong. Females have a tendency to be strong. We bear children. What else can I tell you, Loren?
Right. I get it.
You know, Go ahead.
So do you feel like, did you ever find yourself when your boys, let's say they were approaching puberty, 12, 13, that sort of thing? Uh, was it difficult? Excuse me, was it difficult to have some of those talks with them that, traditionally the dad would
Yes.
take the kid out and say, now listen, son,
Right.
how did that go?
And that goes back to your second part question. I mean,
Right.
I had to do fatherly things. I had to do things like teach them how to ride a bike at 3 years old. I had to take them to their football practices and lacrosse practices and do things that it would have been better. Have those talks, as you talk about those talks about puberty and what's going on. But again, and this goes back, and I talk about this in the book, is having open communication with your children. There should not be any topic that you don't have a discussion with your children about. You need
Good
to
point.
know what's going on.
Yeah.
Whether it's they like a girl, they like a boy, it does not matter what it is. You need to have those conversations at a young age. In turn, your children will have that confidence to be able to come to you and tell you anything.
And trust.
Trust, it's trust. And I was always one to have any kind of conversation with my children. And just on a side
Hmm.
note, their friends would say, wow, your mom is
Hmm.
so cool. I wish I
Hmm.
could have those kind of conversations with my mom, or I wish I could do that with my mom. Even till this day, I'm able to hang out with the boys, and their friends think I'm a cool mom. And it's not about being your children's friend, so let me clarify that.
Yeah.
You're a mother first. So,
A lot of people get that screwed up.
yeah, don't get it screwed up. You're not your child's friend when they're growing up. You are their mother. And
Hmm.
you ensure that what you do with your children is, it's all for their betterment. So that when
Right.
they become adults, they're able to handle their own
Right.
matters, and you can establish a friendship with your child. But in the
Yes,
meantime,
absolutely.
growing up, you are a mother. You are not their friend. They are not your friends.
Right. Right. I agree with that. I agree with that. Now, before we go even deeper into the book, I have a question. As a mother of two males, and they're in their 20s, early 20s, uh, and you don't just have two sons, you have two sons of color.
I
And in today's world, with all the things that are going on, not just the pandemic, but of course, I'm alluding to the social distrust and whatnot regarding, men of color and their situation with police and profiling and the difference of treatment between our young men of color and anyone else. What do you say about that? And are you ever worried because you have two young men of color out there who, anything could go any kind of direction?
Yes, absolutely. As a mother, whether you're white, black, Chinese, it doesn't matter. A mother will always worry about her son or daughter. So let's
Mhm.
clarify that.
Sure.
Yeah, when you're, of a different nationality, you
There's
worry.
this is a real thing,
It's a
and
reality.
it is germane to men of color. It's a fact.
It's a fact, and you can't hide it, and it is what it is. But I think Dan had mentioned this last week on your show when he
Right.
said,
I asked him point blank.
you asked him, and I'm going to agree with him in the sense that if you're respectful to a person in position, a law enforcement, if you have a way of yes sir, no sir, and just following the rules for the most part, you shouldn't have any issues. Is it always going to be on the back of your brain? Absolutely, but you treat people with respect regardless. And that's how I've taught my boys to be. You treat anybody of any race um, the way you would want to be treated. And that
Sure.
still holds true till today. So yes, it's out there. You
Hmm.
pray over your kids that, they are not in those types of situations, but respect the law and pray for the best, hope for the best. And, if and when a situation of that sort does come about, you handle it in the best way that you possibly can.
Okay.
Two wrongs don't make it right.
Correct. I get it. I get it. So I have also marked something in the book. Pretty bold statement from your side of the table. So I want you to talk about this. Um, what chapter? Well, I'm on page 30, and you say, this is the key, and you capitalize the word key. So it's pretty important. This is the key to raising children, whether with or without another parent. It is not about material things, what you seek, or how much money in the world you have. It's about self identity and belonging to a circle of another life That's the part that stood out to me. Can you talk about that? What did you mean when you said belonging to a circle of another life?
Another life, that life being the life of the person that brought you into this world, your mother, your that life. You can have all the money in the world, you can have all the materialistic things that a child wants, or think about it in the sense today. um, People that are constantly working, men and females that are constantly working to forget about their past, to forget about their upbringing, and they have all this money in the world, anything, houses, cars, and they're unhappy.
Mhm,
Let's take that unhappiness back to their childhood. And that's where it starts. And that's why a mother raising her child is so important, because you could live under a rock so long as you have your mother there. So
mhm,
long as she gives you direction, so long, even if it's negative attention that a mother gives a child, which is not what I'm promoting, but a child would rather have that than to live or being raised by somebody else and having to revert back to trying to find out who he was, his identity, his family, his upbringing, and of course other questions as it relates to, well, why did this happen to me? Why didn't my mom raise me? What
yeah,
happened? So, without going too much into detail, because this could get really deep,
yeah,
that is that particular situation. It's all about being raised by that number one, your number one fan, that number one female.
that's true. That's
and
true.
and I'm not saying things that aren't true. It's not my opinion. And for those viewers, thinking about their own past and their own upbringing, you think about, if
Mhm.
your mother, or if you don't have your mother, and what types of problems or dysfunction that has caused in your upbringing or in your relationships, or
Yeah.
all kinds of things.
Okay. Well, I got a question for you. And it's a part of the question actually originates from my own journey. I know when I met my birth mother at age 32, she said that one of the number one reasons she allowed uh, my adoptive mom to take me was that she didn't want to go on welfare with her other four children, and she didn't want to keep living in the projects, and she just wanted a better life. Um, Talk about that mindset. You went to college, you got your bachelor's, you then got a master's, all while being a single mother. And it didn't have to be that road. You could have easily said, well, it might make it a little easier if I just get some aid or get some food stamps or whatever. And I don't know, did you? Did you ever? Were you tempted? Did you ever have to go in and get some help? And
Yeah.
what is that? How that's a tenuous road, if you ask me, because it can make a person start believing or encourage them that this is your fate in life, or you can use it as a hand up instead of a hand out to move forward and through. How was it for you? And what about it do you think could be a pitfall that women, young single mothers, need to watch out for?
Well, to answer your first question, yes, I did get assistance years ago when they were younger. So when I moved back from Connecticut to New
Hmm.
Jersey, I needed a little boost. And while looking for work, I had to sustain these kids. So that was not an easy choice. It's not something that I wanted. But versus giving up my children for them to have a better life, who's to say? See, we don't know what the future holds. So for
That's
someone
true.
to say, for a mother to say to give you a better life, monetarily, sure, but I always reverted back to the emotional states, and the chaos, or the disruption, or the emotional roller coaster that your child is going to go through, especially in the teenage years. You
Mhm.
can sustain a child, with gifts and monetary and food, and pacify them when they're babies. But once they hit their teenage years, that's difficult. That's when the acting out behaviors start. That's when
Mhm.
they become aggressive. That's when they figure, well, nobody's really taming me, so let me go out and be this wild animal, because
Mhm.
the first person that was supposed to be here decided to give me a better life, per se. And she's not around, or if she is, it's limited, and a lot goes into that. So um, you know financial the financial aspect of it is, yes, it's very important. But like I said, and you could live off a rock so long as you're there taking care of your children. It's it's what we were made to do as mothers, as females. If you're
By
able
any means
to have children,
necessary, keep
by
your
any
kids safe.
means necessary,
Hmm.
take them wherever. And
Yeah.
even if you gave your child to an adoptive mom, let's just say for a month to get yourself together. Go back and get your
Excuse me.
child.
Right.
He or she belongs to you. He doesn't belong to the world. And there's a saying that goes, it takes a village to raise a child, and that's true. You need those supports.
Right.
Again, have that primary person that brought you into this world being the one guiding you and protecting you. So,
Correct. I get it.
life is tough. I moved back to Camden, one of the poorest city in the world at one point. I don't think it is today, but so I thought I had to think about all those things. And yes, Loren, it's a sacrifice. So for every mother out there, I'm not saying it's easy.
Mhm.
I'm a prime example that it wasn't easy. Moving to an
Well, let's talk about that. Let's talk about when it wasn't easy. Let's talk about that, because there could be that young mother out there who's going, yeah, easy for her to say. She's got a college degree and somebody probably helped her with this, but in the background, she can hear a toddler screaming. She's got a newborn. She's breastfeeding right there at the. Let's just paint the picture the way it is for a lot of people. What about what do you say? Because I want to know what made you do this, write this, and what does she look like? What is the person that you wrote this book for? Because I'm assuming it's a combination of a lot of versions of yourself along the way that is who this person is. And so I want people to understand that you're speaking with people and not at people
right,
with this book, because it's your journey.
right.
So let's talk about that. Can you tell us, do you remember when you go back into the recesses of your mind, take us to one of those most difficult moments when Jeanette said, I don't know if I'm going to be able to do this. Why is this so hard? Where you felt like there was no one there. It was you and the kids. You had an empty refrigerator. You had an empty bank account. The car was broke down if you had one at all. You know that moment. Talk about that and where you went to find that Xena warrior spirit that kept you going, because it's one of those situations at a time. You just got to find how to get through each one as they happen. How did you do that? Which one stands out to you?
So, I mean, you're talking a couple things here. So, going back to the first part about writing the book, it was a combination of course, my own life experience,
Of course.
what I was going through. So, I'm not talking to mothers or at mothers.
Right.
I'm talking with mothers because this is my journey. This is something that I endured, and it wasn't easy. So, I don't go around saying that things are easy. They're not easy. It's a sacrifice. But it's a sacrifice that will reap its rewards in the end, and you'll see that. But
Tell us about one.
so before I get to one, I just want to also say that the reason why I wrote the book as well is because without going too much into detail into the line of work that I do, I work with children. So I would see children who were, birthed, and then at the age of 16, 17, not having been raised by their mothers. And as a result of that, what kinds of lives they were leading, which included, gang involvement, killing, jail time, very aggressive and angry. So going back to that question, Loren, that was the combination that, my own experience raising two males in the city of Camden, plus the line of work that I do, and having seen these children and what they were growing into was just the nail to drive it home to say, hey, what makes common sense, this common sense, the mother raising her children. Wow, that's so common. Who doesn't know that? But unfortunately, like you said, it's 22 million children in the world not being raised by their mothers.
Look, that's one of the first things. Right. And my birth mother, Lucille, God rest her soul, would say to me, she goes, yeah, people think a lot of this is common sense, but it's not common at all. If it was common, wouldn't more people be using it?
Exactly. So I just wanted to throw that point out.
Okay.
Because, it's important. So those were the reasons why I wanted to write the book, because of seeing 19 years in the line of work that I do, and having raised two sons in the heart of Camden, where, it's drug infested. I would show them on a daily basis, or as often as I could, saying, hey, you see that guy or that girl over there? That will be you if you don't do something with your life. So I was always involved. With regards to particular experiences,
but just one, there's got to be something that stands out. We get through, but we don't unhear and we don't unsee those things that, and the reason I always bring this up with certain guests, when depending on the topic, is because what I'm asking you for is a mile marker. It's because we a lot of people are afraid to go back to the proverbial scenes of certain what they see as crimes, if you will. I don't want to talk about that. Oh, it's too much. I was abused, or that was when I was going through the abusive relationship. He was beating me, but that is also in many cases where we find the resolve. We find those things that can only be found out of necessity.
Yeah.
To prove to get through. So, and I want people to understand, this isn't just a feel good book because you now have, you're an MSW and this and the other. I'm sure at some point while you were penning this work, you went back in your mind, remember that hardest day.
Oh, I do. I have an example for you. I have
Okay.
boys, and this is in the book as well. An experience where the children's father, he was a heroin user, and he one time I believe I was in school or I was working, probably in school, and I had come home from school, and the car was gone. So he had been out with the two boys in the car. I don't know if he was getting high. I don't know what the situation was, but I could tell you that that particular day was the day that I said, this enough is enough. That was the straw that broke the camel's back, because a lot of things could have happened. They could have been part of the system. They could have been part of, what, DHS, CPS, because this man had, intentionally taken these two children. Daniel was a baby. He was probably
On a dope run.
yeah, on I don't know what kind of ride.
What, but I remember that in the book. I remember that part.
He was out for hours. So of course, as a mother, I was panicking, and mind you, in situations like this, I had been in that situation for some years. So it wasn't that I just decided to say, hey, you started using drugs, I'm out, peace. That wasn't the situation. But again, when you become parents, it's not about you anymore. It's about your children. So ensuring that those kids were safe was my number one priority. And that particular incident, my hair stands as I think about it, because anything could have happened. They could have died in a car accident. They could have been shot. God knows what could have happened. Thankfully, nothing happened. And thankfully, I was that kind of person that I was not misled in that direction as well, because I need to throw that in there. Sometimes as parents, you want to do what your counterpart is doing or what your partner is doing, and my life could have taken a different direction, but thankfully it didn't. So with that particular, situation or incident, that was enough to say, hey, I need to ensure that my kids are safe at all times.
Right.
So it was an eye opener for me. And that's what spiraled into me leaving that particular situation and ensuring that my kids, were safe.
Way to go. Way to go. Hey, Jeanette, did you ever go to sleep? Did you ever go to sleep yourself as a mom, hungry, to make sure that your kids eat?
That's a funny story. Yes, the answer is yes, because I ensured that, of course, they ate. And if they ate, I was good. We sometimes go around telling a story, and this is the truth. The boys will tell you that, I would go to the washing machine just to scrounge for a quarter or two to go out and, if there was something that miraculously we found in the washing machine, a quarter or two, so that they could go get a snack at the corner store. But yes, I did come across that situation. But by the grace of God, I was able to go back to school. I was able to get my college degree and, be able to be self-sufficient, get off the system, and, do the best that I could as a single mother with, the employment that I currently have. So.
Right. And I got to say, I haven't met Lewis, but I do know Daniel, Dano, the boy of many names. And we've just recently started working together. And you should, if Lewis is anywhere close to how you've raised Dano, I got to say, you definitely need a standing ovation, because one of the greatest kids I think I've ever met, Dano. And I do mean that. I'm serious. I mean that. A special kid, gonna do big things in this world. And I'm sure Lewis is pretty much of the same cloth.
Yes, Lewis is the same. And as a matter of fact, Lewis was always trying to be Daniel's protector. So I just want to share with parents too, while we're on that topic, that, children shouldn't be in the parenting capacity. Children, not a husband, not a father. They should be children as well. So that's important to say too, because sometimes children establish those roles at a young age and they should not. So let children be children and not a father figure
hmm
to your other
hmm
children. So
Where'd you get the title? What talk about that? Where's mom? Question mark. There's a big story looming behind those two words. Tell us about that. And then if you could go right into, I asked you to find something that really stood out to you, one of your favorite or most moving um, points in the book. And I think you have something for us. So tell us about the title, and then share with us what you got.
okay, well, the title "Where's Mom" I thought was just something so catchy. Where's mom? Every child in the world wants to know where their mother is.
Good point.
Am I right? Yes.
Uh-huh.
Where is
Mm-hmm.
when we talk about anything, subjects, people want to talk about mothers. Not again discounting fathers. Fathers are important, and my plan is to down the road write a book about fathers. But for right now, my target is single mothers.
Sure.
But I thought the title was catchy. Where's mom? Because it hits home. It hits you. Wow, where is my mom? Can I find her? Is she alive? Did she pass away? Have I shut the doors to her? Did she abandon me? It's deep. Those
It's
two
very
words,
deep.
it's deep. So I thought it was catchy, and I wanted to give viewers and people that buy the book the opportunity to say, wow, that's deep. Where's mom? Where is my mom? So it gives you an opportunity to seek inward and see your own life and where your mother is and the type of relationship you have with your mother, whether it's good or bad. So that's the topic. And I thought, yeah, people pick it up. Where's mom? Wow, they want to read more. What is this about? Where's
Right.
mom? Wow, and that's all I have with that. Where's mom?
Okay. I like it. It makes sense. And,
uh,
and and that's a big deal. I just want to say, because for 32 years, that question loomed in my mind at least once every day. Where
there
is
you
my
go.
real mom? Where is she? And it was that presence because my mom told me when I met her, because they had told her that I was dead. And I asked her, how did you know I would come? She
Oh,
just said, I knew you would come. And she goes, are you kidding? I'm your mom. She goes,
wow.
we were once one person. And if you weren't in this world anymore, I'd have been the first to know.
That's a great.
I never got that call from God. So I knew you were out there and I knew you would find me. And she meant it. So that is the thing about where's mom is what got me there. So I
Thank,
want to tell you, you were point on with that, spot on. So
thank you.
what do you got for us from the book? What's
Okay,
your favorite?
so I have two quotes, and then I have chapter 4, page 54, where I talk about. I'll just read it.
Okay.
History will repeat itself, and it will continue repeating itself until the cycle is broken. Somewhere and somehow, the vicious cycle has to be broken. Mom, it starts with you. Put in the time and effort that comes with childbearing. It needs to be done and correctly to break the cycle of children feeling alone and rejected, hence finding a path that may get them into trouble as they seek to fill that void.
Mm, wow.
Yeah, it's again, bringing it back to the role of a mother being there for her children because what's to come if you're not? What
Mhm.
will happen to your child? What is their destiny? What is their future? How are they going to play out in relationships? How are they going to play out with other human beings, other females? And again with the males, having that number one relationship with your mother, that female is so vital because it does make a difference on how you become or what you become in the
I
future.
agree. I believe it's the grout
It is
that fills in between all of the other tiles that make up who
yes,
we
it's
are in
the
life.
foundation. It's that cement.
Mhm.
So, and then I have a quote. I have two quotes actually that I appreciate. And one is from Frederick Douglass. It is
Mhm.
easier to build strong children than to repair broken men.
Yep, I saw that in there.
I love
Very
that.
nice.
And then Jesse Jackson has one that says, children need your presence more than your presence. ENTS. Who
Right.
cares about presence? That's
Not things.
that's physical stuff.
That's
Children
right.
need time. They need to know that you're there for them at all times. Good times, bad times, sick, well, it does not matter. You need to be there. So
I
that
agree.
I love that quote because Parents, some parents think that by buying your children, things, you're buying their love. They don't care about
Right.
that stuff.
Right.
That's so important. And so
We
that's
got
what I
just
would.
a couple minutes left. We got a couple minutes left, and I don't want people to miss the opportunity. On the screen, it's been there for a few minutes. I'll leave it up even after we close the show. I'll leave it up. If you want to continue the dialogue with our guest today, Jeanette Ramos, or you need to know where you can go to get your own copy of the book, which is not just for you. If you've already raised your kids or don't have any, someone in your life could use this. Pick up a copy today and pass it on. Holidays are coming. Rexy09@yahoo.com is how you do that. And in conclusion, last question is actually, can you provide the audience today with, let's say, 3 tips on how to be the best parent you can be? Single, double parent household, whatever. Just parent.
3 tips. Okay. One tip would be don't give up.
Okay.
Don't give up. So that's the number one tip. Don't give up.
Probably want to.
Even if you want to, don't
Yeah,
give up.
because I bet there's times when you're like, I can't do this. I just can't do it.
You can't do it.
But you do it anyway.
Yes. Don't give up. Don't quit.
Don't give up.
Give your children the time that they deserve. Know what they're doing at all times, or at least as much as possible. Don't be the latchkey, leave them as the latchkey, constantly working. You're not figuring out what your kids are doing. Please
Okay.
spend the time with them. And thirdly, provide your children with positivity, with, say something nice about them on a regular. You're beautiful, you're smart. Never undermine or degrade a child, calling them names, anything negative. So